No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you. If there's some kind of trouble or pain you're going through, know that you are not alone and someone cares for you. As an individualization of divine point of view, this door is open to you. This door is open. This door right here is open for you. This door is open to you. This door is open. I'm talking about this door. This door is open. I said this.
Good morning. This door is open to you. And you. That was fun. That's fun. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Christy Korn. I am the Associate Minister here at Unity of the Blue Ridge. I want to welcome you to today's service, and we have Meagen Gosiewski with us today. We're going to share a beautiful message on wisdom. So we're in for a real treat. We want to welcome you that are here in person and want to welcome you that are here in the live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks from around the world join us. So please turn around and give a little shout out to your extended community. Thank you for joining us today. And have a look at each other. And though we're not yet in the hugging stages with folks, just do a little namaste bow or just a little acknowledgement. And yeah, just recognize the divinity in one another. And this is who you're in spiritual community with. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community. And so let's open with a prayer. So I know that there is one life, infinite and eternal. This divine wisdom that is the creative energy which has formed the cosmos, which animates our very being, which unifies us all, that inspiration, that indwelling peace and love that expresses through each and every one of us. This life is God, it is spirit. By many names it is called, yet there is only one. And so we come together this day to recognize at an even deeper level our nature, our divinity, and we recognize that in one another. And in that recognition, a spark is made, and our fire and our light just burns a little brighter. And as we come together and connect in this unifying presence, the world is a brighter place. We share our wisdom. We share our faith. We share our love and hope and beauty. And life is rich and wonderful. And so for this opportunity to come together to celebrate the magnificence of life, we give thanks. We let it go, we allow it to be, and we celebrate it, and so it is. Amen. And so now is the time in our service where we bless our kids as they go back. And we have Reverend Gabby Michael, and then we have Reverend Barbara Ann Simone. And so if any of the kids want to go back, beautiful, fun, beautiful projects in the works too, I understand. So what we do is we extend a blessing to them. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you. Have fun. All right, with that, we are going to share a song that is a great reminder of why we're here, to recognize that divinity and know that it is indeed in every one of us.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us. I just remember, it's like I've been sleeping for years. I'm not awake as I can be, but my seeing is better. I can see through the tears. I've been realizing that I bought this ticket and watching only half of the show. But there's scenery and lights and a cast of thousands who all know what I know. And it's good that it's so. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. It's in every one of us, by and by. Thank you.
Thank you. Love that reminder. That song has been part of my spiritual journey for many, many years, so it always feels like coming home when I hear that song. We are focusing on the 12 powers, and today the focus is on wisdom, so I wanted to share a little inspirational reading with you all. This is called Crank Up the Volume by Reverend Kurt Condra. Listening to the still small voice within can be like listening to the radio on a road trip. Sometimes there's static, it's out of range, the signal weakens. Even when I feel dialed in, the station occasionally fades in and out. I know that once I get clear of interference, the reception will improve. God's channels for communicating with us are limitless. Sometimes guidance is broadcast on unfamiliar stations. Sometimes we don't recognize the voice. Yet, Spirit is always on the air. God is present, even in the static. Waiting on God is always the right choice. But there's a difference between waiting on God and waiting to hear what we want to hear. So how can we distinguish between the two? Here's a suggestion. Be still and know. Be still and know that God always points to eternal truth. Divine solutions are not constrained by worldly facts. Heed the voice that calls you higher, and you'll find the journey infinitely more rewarding.
Crawl before they walk, they coo and mumble before they talk. As the world turns, we live and learn with the wisdom of time. As the world turns, we live and learn with the wisdom of time. Growing up through years of wonder why some go over and some go under. Life seems strange, but experience is gained with the wisdom of time. Yesterday we lived separated, but today I hoped we'd be integrated. Divided we fall, together stand tall with the wisdom of time. Divided we fall, together stand tall with the wisdom of time. Time, the healer of wounds, the sealer of fate, with the greatest power to educate. Through your wisdom, teach us not to hate before it's too late. Narrow minds keep us locked up tight, but broader minds are the key to what's right. So let's keep hoping for minds to open with the wisdom of time. Babies crawl before they walk, they coo and mumble
Talk about wisdom. We have the band back together. Look at... Thank you, Mary Kay Williams. Beautiful, beautiful. We have Dave, Richard, Joel is back. Yay. We have Pete Latrella, and we have Joey Dukes back on percussion. So, wow. And now I would like to introduce, one of my favorite people, just growing to be even more one of my favorite people in my life, and my prayer partner. So yay, yeah, powerful. Anyways, Meagen Gosiewski, please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you. I'm just going to go on and out myself because this is wisdom just telling me to be honest. So the hem fell out of my dress this morning as I was standing in the bathroom looking at myself. I realized the whole thing had fallen out. I don't know if I caught it on the car door. So I have a mixture of tape and safety pins and all kinds of things. So if you randomly see a piece of tape on my knee, just know that I'm just doing the best I can. So that's my wisdom today. Oh, goodness. You know, you just got to laugh. You just got to laugh. Thank you. So today, we are going to be talking about wisdom. This is the continuation of a 12-part series that Reverend Darlene began back. She's had 3 talks before this. We had faith, we had love, and we had strength. This week is talk number 4, which is about wisdom. And the book is called The 12 Powers of Man, which is written by Charles Fillmore. He's the co-founder with his wife Myrtle of Unity, which we are so very blessed to be sitting here today because of them. He wrote this book back about 120, 30 years ago, so it's been around. It stood the test of time, and it's a really powerful, powerful book. I highly encourage you to read it, or at least tune in every Sunday to hear the next chapter. And I think really this is the perfect time to talk about wisdom. I think this is specifically the perfect time because we're in winter. It's about introspection. It's about going within. This is what we do. Sometimes we binge watch more TV than we should, or we might read, we might take a master class or do something because we're inside. It's cold. It's been cold. And that's how you cultivate your wisdom and you grow, is by going internally, by being introspective. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to grow that wisdom. Now, I will say this particular week, for those of you who don't know, this past week was very, I think, the telltale sign of wisdom. First of all, did anyone hear that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow? And so we're supposed to have 6 more weeks of winter. I also heard that they're only right 39% of the time. So I don't know how great Punxsutawney's wisdom is, but we're gonna go with it. I didn't even hear about the local. We have a local one down in Chimney Rock. They didn't even put it on the news that I saw, at least as of Wednesday night, they hadn't. The other time frame that we're in right now is for those who practice native spirituality, the European term is called Imbolc, and that's midwinter. So we are halfway through as of Wednesday, which is the same day as Groundhog Day. So it's the time that we start thinking about spring. We start thinking about gardening or family vacations or being with friends outside. It's going to be beautiful soon. And that is such a good time. I look forward to my garden every year. And I think as we think about introspection and we think about our wisdom, this is that last bit of time to be able to do it. So honor the wisdom that you're growing right now. Honor that because it's so important. So I looked up the definition of wisdom first. I thought, well, let's just start there and see. It's the ability to discern or judge what is true, right, or lasting. Okay. Charles Fillmore goes a little bit further, though, and he says wisdom is 3 things. It's judgment, intuition, and, wait, I just forgot the third one, justice. There we go. Judgment, intuition, and justice. Judgment, discerning what is right or wrong. Intuition, that still voice in that Reverend Christie just read about, that's the intuition, that still voice inside of us. And then justice, and the quote that came to my mind instantly when I read justice was Martin Luther King Jr., "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. As I was reading the chapter of this book, something stood out to me. Very, very, very much so. And I love synchronicities, and I talk about them a lot because I truly believe if you are walking your path, the synchronicities are just going to flow. They're just going to constantly be coming, and it's the sign that you're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. Yeah, it's so true. And as I read this, he talks about wisdom. Now, wisdom sits in the solar plexus right here. And that's what Charles Fillmore says. Now, all of the 12 powers have some place that they sit very differently in the body, but specifically wisdom is here. And it is also the color yellow. Now, you may be having some little bells of, oh, wait a minute, I know this. What is this from? I know that color yellow sitting at the solar plexus. And for those of you who have ever studied Hinduism and you know the 7 chakras, the 3rd chakra, which is yellow, which Charles Fillmore says is yellow, sits your wisdom, your will, your power, your motivation. So here was Charles Fillmore, 130, 40 years ago, writing this book, and it so corresponds. And I have taught so many classes on the chakra system and working with Ayurvedic and understanding that and healing that trauma. As a therapist, that's what I am by trade. That's some of the things that I really like to help people with, and a lot of things get stuck right here. And I find that so fascinating that Charles Fillmore pinpointed that. Isn't that interesting? It's so interesting. That's where the synchronicities start to lie. So I'm going to read a couple of quotes here on wisdom. So I'm going to start. I have 3. The first one is by Albert Einstein. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but the lifelong attempt to acquire it. When I first read that, I thought, you know, what a shame that our society puts so much energy into the youth when really it's the elderly. The wisdom that has been gained over a lifetime should be so much more valued than it is. So I'm hoping today that as we think about this wisdom, we start honoring that in ourselves and in the people around us. Because yeah, it's fun to be young, but you have no wisdom. You are really just figuring it out as you go along. The second one is by our very own Maya Angelou. Did anyone see the video last week of her? Yeah, it was so good. I love Maya. And this is great. She says, I love wisdom, and you can never be great at anything unless you love it. Isn't that so sweet? I love Maya Angelou. She's such an amazing soul. And then the last one, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in your fruit salad. That's by Miles Kingston. That's my favorite. So when I think of wisdom, I think of the Buddha. What an enlightened being. What great messages the Buddha had to tell us. And I find that when I think of wisdom, I specifically go back to a time where my husband and I, we were practicing Zen Buddhist for quite a while when we lived in Chicago. It was kind of our way to get away from all the city craziness, and we would go and we would meditate every Sunday. We would sit for a good 20-minute session, then they would have a break, and then we'd come back for 20 minutes. And I got really good at cultivating silence and really good at listening to myself and my own inner wisdom. And so when I started preparing this talk, I thought, oh, I'm definitely going to talk about the Buddha. And there's this one story that I remember hearing, and I went back and looked it up so that I could tell it. Now, the Buddha was an enlightened individual, and people came from all across the land to hear his words of wisdom during the time he was alive. And there was this one man in particular. Now, he was a devotee of the Hindu god Rama. And Rama was the chosen path that he had been on for many years of his life. He would pray Rama, 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 and chant the name to his devoted God. He built many temples to this great God. He had devoted his entire life to spreading the word of Rama, to making himself feel that he was connected in a deep way to this particular deity. But as he got older, he started to think, maybe there's more, or maybe I'm missing out, or maybe there's not a God. So he said, I know what I'll do. I'll go to the Buddha. I'll ask the Buddha. He is the wise, wisdom one, the enlightened one. He will let me know. So he travels many days to go see the Buddha. And he finds him, and he's sitting in a field with his disciples all out. It's a beautiful sunshiny day. And he goes up to the edge of the crowd that's gathered around the Buddha, and he's very quietly waiting for that moment where it's still and he can ask a question. And that time finally comes. And he says, Buddha, Buddha, oh great enlightened one, please tell me, I need to know, is there a God? Is there a God? And Buddha looks right at the man and says, no, there is no God. No, go, be on your way, live your life, enjoy. And he gathers his belongings and he leaves. Now the disciples of the Buddha were sitting there, and they were very intrigued by this, and they had been wanting to ask the Buddha, oh, well, now we know there's no God. All right, check. We got that one. We can move on now. We know there's no God. Well, later that same day, another man had gathered into the crowd to ask a question of the Buddha. Now, this man was a devotee of the philosophy called Charvaka. Now, Charvaka at the time in Hinduism was an atheistic philosophy. There was no God. Life was about material possessions, about experience and food and pleasure and all of the riches that life could offer you. And this man had spent his entire life devoting himself to accumulating wealth and experiencing food and travel and meeting foreign people and doing all these amazing things that were all very much, some would say almost a hedonistic lifestyle. It was all very much about the senses. But as he gets older too, he thinks, is this it? Is this really it? Could there be something more? Could there be a God? So he travels. He's sitting there on the same day. The quiet comes and he says, oh, Buddha, dear enlightened one, please tell me, I need to know, is there a God? And the Buddha looks right at the man and said, yes. Now the disciples that were sitting there by Buddha's feet said, wait a minute. First in the morning, you tell us there is no God, and then at the end of the day, you tell us there is a God. What game is the Buddha playing? So they asked him specifically, what game are you playing? Are you trying to confuse us? Why are you telling us these contradictory stories? And the Buddha says, the whole game is to remove your belief so that you really search. With belief, you have only destroyed the search. Now, I'm not going to lie. I had to go back and read that a couple of times because I remembered the story, but I couldn't remember all the details. And I thought, I need to process this with someone. As a therapist, naturally I need to process everything, much to my husband's chagrin. And I did. I went to Michael and I said, okay, let me read you this story. I want to know what you think. And so my beautiful devoted spouse said, okay, hold on just a moment. And he went and he spent some time and he wrote these words. And I was so moved by them that I made him type them out so that I could read them to you all. And he says, belief is an important component of faith, yet blind faith limits our divine potential. Questioning our hand-me-down beliefs, as Reverend Darlene says, does not sow doubt that will destroy our faith. We must question in order to gain wisdom. We must question in order to gain wisdom. Now, I love how he uses Reverend Darlene, because that has always stuck in my head, the hand-me-down beliefs, right? You may have grown up in a specific faith or not a faith at all. You probably, statistically, the average person sitting in here did not grow up in unity. I know Jessica did back in the back. But most of us did not. We found it later in life. So you are already sitting in your wisdom because you have questioned already. You have thought there's more. There's something else. I want to know what that something else is. I want to feel it. I want to touch it. I want to taste it. I want to read about it. I want to experience, and I want to be collectively with other people who think the same way. So give yourself a hand, first of all. We are very wise in this room because we have questioned. So knowledge, then, the tomato, remember I said the tomato is knowing, knowledge is knowing the tomato is a fruit. Knowledge is your belief. You know that there's a divine principle. There's a spirit is, there's a, as we used to say when I was in religious science, the mega mind, the infinite oneness. But it's God, the great spirit, whatever you want to call him or her or it or whatever. It's all, you know it's there. That's your knowledge. But your wisdom is questioning, well, how does it interact with me? How does it interact with the world? How can I experience it more? What can I read? How can I grow in that knowledge? That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. I think there's a perfect story in the Bible that Jesus tells in Matthew 7:24 through 27 that really summarizes it from a Christian perspective. Everyone then who hears these words of mine, and this is Jesus speaking, everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house upon the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Now, when I grew up in Sunday school, I grew up in a fundamentalist Sunday school, our church specifically, and I remember, did anybody learn the song, the wise man built his house upon the rock? Does anybody remember that? And my favorite was always the sand, because you got to go in this, the wise man, or the foolish man's house went, everybody, I always loved that as a kid. But even then, we got the principle that you build your house on the rock, which is what? Your wisdom. It's your faith. It's your faith, but more than that, it's your wisdom. The rock represents the words that Jesus spoke. So building your house on that principle of wisdom, building your house on that principle of understanding that as you grow, so does your consciousness. Reverend Darlene talks a lot about Christ consciousness, and that's what you're doing. As you grow your wisdom, you're growing your consciousness, you're expanded, and once you've expanded your mind, it can never go back. An expanded mind cannot retract. It always stays expanded. And then once you've got expanded mind, you kind of get addicted to it, and you want to know more, and you want to know more. And that's where your wisdom truly grows. Each week, Reverend Darlene has talked about a specific disciple that represents the topic of the week. So there's, I think for love, it was John. I'm trying to remember. For strength, it may have been Peter. Does anybody remember? I can't remember exactly. But I know for this one, it is James. Now, I don't know much about James. He's not really mentioned a lot. It's mostly Peter and John, and of course, Judas, that you hear the most about. But there are lesser disciples, and James has his own book in the New Testament. And there's a quote about wisdom in there that I found very appropriate to share. It says from James 1:5, if any of you let me start all over. If any of you lack wisdom, ask God for it, who gives to us all liberally and with grace, and it will be given to you. So all you have to do is ask, which makes it so much easier, right? Like we always bang our heads sometimes to learn, or when we read something, we have to read it over and over. All we have to do is ask. Really, that's what affirmative prayer is about. Affirmative prayer, which hopefully you have some knowledge of here at Unity, that's what we all do. We do affirmative prayer, and it's a praying as if the thing has already happened or is happening in this moment now. So if you are wanting to grow your wisdom, ask for it now. Affirmatively treat or pray that it is happening as this moment expands for you. I have a story about my son, and I've been deciding if I want to share it because I know he's watching, but I think I will. My 11-year-old, who is, does anybody know the board game, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It's not easy. That is not easy, y'all. We have that game, and I have to really think. And my son is a fifth grader, and he is full of facts. Oh my gosh. Last night he was like, Mom, is 1/3 plus 1/4 2/7? And I had to think about it, thinking of adding fractions, and I'm like, okay, yes. No, Mom, it's actually 2, 3, 4 something. I can't remember what he said. And he goes, you take the fraction, you do this, and we like whipped up this math problem really quick. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, good. And then the other day we were talking about what's going on in Ukraine. My son is very knowledgeable. He keeps up with things. We were talking about Ukraine and Russia and the friction that was going on right now through Europe. And I somehow alluded to World War II and how World War II started, and he corrected me and said, actually, Mom, World War II started because blah, 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 blah. So he is full of knowledge. And I'm saying this to you specifically, Marcus, because you are full of knowledge. I'm watching you. I know you're watching right now from home. But knowledge does not equal wisdom. And that's what I want to teach him. Is your wisdom will grow, and it's good to have these facts. But I will promise you, I have not added a fraction since probably 5th grade. And I have a feeling most of us in the audience don't do it on a regular basis, and for those of you at home, you probably don't either, so don't beat yourself up. It is what it is. But as you grow, and I'm saying this to you, Marcus, as you grow, your wisdom will get brighter and bigger and stronger, and you will really be able to use that to help the world and to make the world a better place. And that's what our wisdom is for, because that's that divine light inside of us, that intuition, that stillness. And going back to Charles Fillmore saying it's sitting here in the solar plexus. A good friend of mine is a medicine woman or a shaman, and she has a very thriving practice here in Asheville, and she sees people and does traumatic healing with them. And she always talks about listening to your heart and listening to your gut. And there's actually brain matter in both of them, and they constantly connect. The heart and the gut connect with the brain. And how beautiful is it that the solar plexus sits directly in between the heart and the gut? How beautiful is that? That's where our wisdom lies. It touches into our heart, and it touches into our intuition. It touches into our love, and it touches into that stillness, that still God voice inside of us. That just warms me thinking about that. She tells her son all the time, my friend Marna. I know she's supposed to be watching today too. She says she tells her son all the time, who's very much like my son, very headstrong, very cerebral. Are you thinking with your heart? Are you thinking with your heart? So, Richard, can I? The Buddha says, if anything is worth doing, do it with your heart. I think that's such a beautiful way of thinking about growing our wisdom, is doing it with our heart, because our wisdom is really about love. It's really deeply connected in. And I don't know if you remember the talk I gave back in December was talking about Joseph and Mary. And Joseph, from the metaphysical interpretation, is wisdom, and Mary, from the metaphysical interpretation, is love. And when you put those two together, that's where the Christ was born, or where your Christ consciousness is born, is the blending of the two, is a blending of your wisdom and your love. And that's how you grow. And that's how you walk on this world as a holy being, when you're centered in your love and wisdom. So I thought I would end today. Today is Black History, or this month is Black History Month. And we are celebrating that a lot at home right now. And so I thought I would end with a quote by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. First, we are challenged to develop a world perspective. No individual can live alone. No nation can live alone. And anyone who feels that he can live alone is sleeping through a revolution. The world in which we live is geographically one. The challenge that we face today is to make it one in terms of brotherhood. So let's take this in. Taking a deep breath. Maybe placing your hands right on your solar plexus, your seat of wisdom in your body. Honoring that place, honoring that seat, that house of divine wisdom that is seated perfectly between the heart and the gut, the intuition and the love. As we sit here today, either at home or in this beautiful sanctuary, we are growing our wisdom. We are walking steadfastly in the knowledge that we are divine beings. We have that spark of Christ consciousness in us. We have that oneness, as Martin Luther King says, where we are all of the brotherhood and sisterhood of man. And as we grow in our wisdom, let us use it wisely, not only for ourselves and our family, but for our community in this world. Because as we grow in wisdom and as we walk in love, we can make this world a peaceful place. Wisdom is a combining of perfect knowledge and love. Perfect wisdom is one that wishes to help and not hinder. So I thank you, Divine Spirit. I thank you, great God, for this gift of wisdom, knowing and understanding that we are one. We are one with the oneness of the universe, one with each other. And I release this, knowing it is so. And so it is. Amen. I think the band will come back up now, and I thank you.
Thank you. I almost just called you Reverend Meagen, because you are like this close, right, on your ministerial path. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your gift of sharing a beautiful message. There's a lot of wisdom in there. Great. I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I want to remind everyone for our membership. We have our annual membership meeting coming up on February 20th. It'll be following the service in person here in the sanctuary at noon. Members will receive a notice in the mail. It's also in our e-news, so just want to put that on your calendars, and you'll be updated on what's going on with staff and projects and plans and visions and the whole gamut of this amazing community. So mark your calendars for that. And thank you again, Meagen. And the band is going to take us a little bit higher.
A little more Motown. Guys, stand if you want to. It's a dancing song. Think about it. There must be higher love down in the heart or hidden in the stars above. Without it, is wasted time. Look inside my heart, look inside mine. Things look so bad everywhere. In this whole world, what is fair? We walk blind, and we try to see, falling behind on what could be. Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. Where's that higher love I keep thinking of? Worlds are turning, and we're just hanging on, facing our fear and standing out there all alone. A yearning, and it's real to me. There must be someone who's feeling for me. Things look so bad everywhere. In this whole world, what is fair? We walk blind, and we try to see, falling behind on what could be. Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. Where's that higher love I keep thinking of? Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. With that higher love, we could rise above. I will wait for it. I'm not too late for it. Until then, I'll sing my song to cheer the night along. I could light the night up with my soul on fire. I could make the sunshine with pure desire. Let me feel the love come over me. Let me feel how strong it could be. Yeah. Oh, bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. Where's that higher love I've been thinking of? Bring me a higher love. Bring me a higher love. Oh, bring me a higher love. With that higher love, I could rise above. Yes. Where you go to find wisdom, find your higher love.
Mary Kay Williams and our Unity Band, thank you so much. Meagen, thank you. Thank all of you. Thank you for our live stream folks at home, wherever and whenever you're watching us. Thank you for participating in this. And thank you for your ongoing support here. It allows us to keep our light on, literally and figuratively. It allows us to continue to do this work, and you're the biggest part of our ministry. We do this for each and every one of you. As I always say, you, put the you in unity. And want to thank you for your offerings. There are many many ways to give online. For those of you here in person, we have the blue boxes, and we welcome your love offerings as you feel so inspired to do so. But mostly, thank you for being a part of this amazing community. And we'll close with the prayer for protection. And I'll be honest with you, I always mix up the order of all these, but you know what? It all means the same thing. So here we go. I'm going to give it a whirl. This is a prayer for protection. The love of God surrounds us. The power of God protects us. Presence of God abides in us. Oh, watches over us. You want to do it? Hey, you got your thing. Oh, you took it off? Yeah.
Okay, let's try it again. The power of God protects us. The light of God surrounds us. There we go. See, I messed up. Light of God surrounds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Where?
Here we go. Jessica.
Jessica!
This is the one that grew up in Unity.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, Father.
And so, just so you know, this was divinely inspired to get everybody engaged in really taking in and learning and understanding and living the wisdom of that amazing prayer. So thank you. Jessica's got an online class, Release. That says a lot about me. Unleash your inner rebel spirit. Oh my gosh. And you're doing really well with that, so thank you. She's got that offering online as well, and Meagen and I are in the works of, we're putting together a affirmative prayer class, so just keep looking at all the wonderful things happening here, and we hope that you have a beautiful and blessed week. Thank you for joining us at home. Thank you to this amazing band, and they're going to take us a little bit higher as we go on out of here. Have a blessed week.